Picture the scene. It's the 2022 World Cup and Harry Kane gets injured. Game or training, doesn't matter. Gareth Southgate has to look across his squad and think, who am I going to get to fill this void left in the team? For me, there's only one man to do that. It's Ivan Toney. Let me show you why. First of all, Ivan Toney is a man in good goal-scoring form. He's a very good goal scorer, but he's in good form too. He already has 8 goals in the Premier League this season. He is outperforming his expected goals figures, and he is 6th for non-penalty XG in the Premier League, behind Erling Haaland, Gabriel Jesus, Mohamed Salah, Harry Kane, and Callum Wilson, who is also a very good natural goal scorer. But what you get with Ivan Toney is an ability to drop out of that central space and to fulfill a role of creating and linking play. I sometimes think that Toney isn't given the credit he deserves for how good a creator of goals as he is, as well as a goal scorer. Now, I've got England here in a 3-4-3 formation. This is the formation they played in Italy in the Nations League. They lost 1-0, let's not worry about it. It's also the outfield players that featured. Again, there are fitness concerns over some of these guys ahead of the actual World Cup. Let's not worry about that either. And Gareth Southgate has played numerous different formations in the past 18 months. He's played a 5-3-2, he's played a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3. The common denominator in all of those is this central focal point of a striker, but maybe more importantly, that role in the team. Now, why I think Gareth Southgate will prefer to play a 3-4-3 formation during the World Cup is because it gives the team a very solid base. You've got your 3 centre-backs, you've got 2 number 6s shielding, and you can tuck your full-backs in as well. This is a very solid base. It can invite your opposition on, but that doesn't matter because you're comfortable in that situation. You are minimising the chances of making mistakes. And as JJ told me, a team that makes fewest mistakes in a World Cup or in a tournament is very likely to go deep into it, if not win the thing. So this gives a very solid platform. What then becomes important is when you get the ball forward quickly, you need a player that's going to link the 2 elements, and that is where Ivan Toney does come into his own. And the good news for Gareth Southgate is he actually gets to pick 26 players rather than 23, which means he can find a natural fit to cover Harry Kane without sacrificing some of the other forward options and flexibility in his squad. This is Harry Kane's heat map. This is where he's received passes this season so far for Tottenham, produced by Moran. Thank you very much, Moran. And you can see here a lot of activity over on the left side. He's pulled out of this central space and pulled wide and deep. He's collecting the ball, but then able, of course, to progress it, drive forward, or come inside the pitch. Likewise, on this right side, it emphasizes how much Harry Kane likes to get involved in the play away from what we would just perceive as a centre forward position. Now, Ivan Toney is very similar. Again, you can see he's pulled out wide to this left space where he is performing a very useful role that I'll show you about in a moment. Also worth noting, he's very good from defensive set pieces. Who wouldn't want that? Here is an example of Ivan Toney pulling out of that central space wide, creating space for others here, but also having the quality to look up and play a shot creating chance. This one is through quite a narrow angle and in behind Tyrone Mings, where Bryan Mbeumo has made an excellent run and gets a shot on goal. This is at Chelsea. Last season, Mbeumo plays a first-time ball into Toney, who then plays a first-time ball through and picks out the run of Vitaly Janelt, who drills home and scores a wonderful goal. It's a perfectly weighted through ball. And again, an example of the quality Toney has in these moments. Again, first-time pass. Here again, Toney creates another opportunity, this time for Godos, with a first-time ball over the top. He's picked out his run, and it ends up in a decent penalty shout for Brentford. It's not just the left channel either. This is Ivan Toney pulling out of the central space towards the right half space and playing a first-time ball through round the corner from Mbeumo to run into the box. Again, it's perfectly weighted. Mbeumo scores from this situation. And he can do it on the right. Here he is at Leicester earlier this season, floating in an absolute peach of a cross into the central area where Mbeumo gets a shot on goal. From a header, in fact. But this is the one I really love. This is Ivan Toney back on the left flank, and this is a key example of what he can do. Quite a lot has already happened before this point. This is in Brentford's 4-0 win at home to Manchester United earlier this season. It's an iconic goal in terms of this campaign. Brentford have sat deep. They're playing a 5-3-2 with Toney and Bryan Mbeumo as a partnership. Manchester United have flooded forward, they pushed on and pressed. And Toney has been really clever in terms of his understanding of the situation and doing what he's told and being told by his head coach. He has pulled over to this left side as an outlet to relieve the pressure. He has the physicality to get up and down this flank quickly, and he's in a great position to receive the ball. He then also has the quality to play a perfectly weighted ball through to Bryan Mbeumo, who then gets to finish off the chance and takes it really well. But the quality of Toney to deliver the pass, but also following the instructions from his head coach to be in the right position and to have the physicality to be able to deliver as well, is excellent. It's the only thing that an international manager would want, would be players to arrive and to be able to carry out their instructions and do what they want them to do for the team with minimal preparation time and limited experience together as a group. Now, why I really like that example is because it directly translates to what Gareth Southgate would like to have from Toney. In this situation, England are trying to get the ball forward. Maguire here has it. The likely ball is through here to Sterling, which is, he's there, but it could be cut out. It's maybe doesn't necessarily lend itself to future attacking options. Ivan Toney is excellent at coming, dropping deep to receive that ball. And what that does is it can set off a whole series of rotations off the back of that. It allows Sterling to start coming inside. You've already got both fullbacks starting to push on. Phil Foden, we know, is going to want to drift and get involved here, and Jude Bellingham is excellent at producing long runs from deep from midfield. And Toney, we know, has the quality to look up and then utilise those runs in front of him. But equally, if the ball gets played and progressed round the side, you also know that having vacated the space and lost his marker, Toney is then able to get into a central area and finish the chance off himself. Scoring goals is also a key point. This England team went 5 games without scoring from open play earlier this year. They scored 48 goals during 2022, but 65% of them came against San Marino, Andorra and Albania, and that's not going to help you during a World Cup. So the more players that can chip in and contribute, the better, and Ivan Toney can definitely do that. This is his non-penalty shots in the Premier League so far this season. Compared to Harry Kane, there is obviously a volume difference here because Spurs are chasing a position much higher in the table than Brentford. But in terms of comparatively and relatively, Ivan Toney is outperforming his expected goals. He is also taking the opportunities he gets in the similar areas, and he can offer a threat outside of the box too, which is something that's been a welcome addition this season. Now, I know Ivan Toney is not the sole option here should Harry Kane not be able to make it. There are plenty of others. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has had his injury troubles, and that may be an issue in terms of availability and the form and fitness that he's in, but he is clearly an excellent option in terms of a target striker, holding the ball up, and a wonderful threat in terms of heading the ball and finishing in the area. To do that, England will need to be pressing and being in a position where they will be supplying that ammunition that would get the best out of him, and for that reason, he's a slightly different option to the other two. Tammy Abraham's form at Roma has deserted him a little bit comparatively, but as we had said earlier, Callum Wilson is an excellent option in terms of being able to run in behind, and he's pretty good at linking play on the edge of the box, and he can definitely take goal scoring opportunities in the penalty area. But again, it's not quite the same role that Kane would deliver. Patrick Bamford has had his injury issues and is searching for form and maybe not quite there yet, and maybe hasn't quite taken past opportunities for England. And then you have the likes of Jarrod Bowen, Marcus Rashford and Ollie Watkins, who for me are different options. Again, they can play in these wider forward roles, and you know that they can get in behind and be really dynamic and creative, but it's not exactly the same role that Kane provides to this team. Not the position, but the actual role he's delivering. Given the Premier League will stop and then the World Cup will almost immediately start, a lot of people will be concerned about form. Well, how about this? In terms of goal creating actions per 90 minutes in the Premier League this season, the top 3 for English strikers are Jamie Vardy, Dominic Solanke and Danny Welbeck. Get your wild cards here, Gareth. So that's the others, but for me, it's about Ivan Toney. It's about a player that's considered one of the senior leadership figures in the Brentford squad. Someone who's captained Brentford, someone who works hard out of possession. You only need to ask Brentford supporters about that. He also has the right character and almost arrogance that he is sure in what he's doing and he knows what he's good at, and you wouldn't expect him to be fazed come the opportunity in an England shirt should it arrive. I'm trying to think if there's anything else he's good at that could come in handy. Yes! Penalties! Ivan Toney is really good at penalties. He's scored all of his penalties for Brentford. He scored 26 out of 27 in his senior career. Thomas Frank, Brentford's head coach, believes Ivan Toney is the best penalty taker in the world. Jay Harris has written a bit about this on The Athletic. There's also Ben Littleton's book, 12 Yards, The Art and Psychology of the Perfect Penalty Kick. And it breaks penalty taking down into two models. There's the one which is goalkeeper independent, where basically you smash the ball and hope the goalkeeper doesn't guess which way you're going to go. And there's also goalkeeper dependent, where you watch for the goalkeeper and you wait, and then you decide depending on which way they go. Now, since Ivan Toney missed his one penalty whilst playing for Peterborough years and years ago, he has adopted the goalkeeper dependent technique, and it is working for him. He has got it down to an absolute T. He's shortened his run up. He plants his left foot and he takes the penalty by looking at what the goalkeeper is doing. He is not looking at the ball. In the words of Ivan Toney, the ball does not move. And it does not move until he kicks it. His stance is quite open, so he can openly shoot towards the right side if he needs to, but also he can swivel his hips and bury it in the left corner if he needs to, depending on which way the goalkeeper goes. And he can read that by how the goalkeeper sits on his knees. And he can tell which way, most of the time, the goalkeeper is going to go. But also, Ivan Toney is so good at this technique that he knows he can stick it far enough in the corner that it will still go in, even if the goalkeeper does dive the right way. And this is the result. This is the penalties that Ivan Toney has taken since 2021. It doesn't include his last penalties. They all went in, so don't worry about that. But this does emphasize the fact that he either goes one way or he goes the other. None of this Panenka nonsense. And that is dependent on whether the goalkeeper is going one way or the other. It's proven right, and it's proven that it works because Ivan Toney is very, very good from the spot. So there we are. I've got nothing left. Ivan Toney is the full package. He should be going to Qatar to at least cover what Harry Kane does for England and for Gareth Southgate. I don't care if it's coming home, I just hope that Ivan Toney doesn't stay at home. Goodbye!
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.